Hello and welcome to the Dublin Arsenal podcast on New Year's Day. Happy 2024 to everyone. I'm your host as always, Jonathan Giles. On the show this week, we'll be reviewing our 2-1 away loss to Marco Silva's Fulham side on New Year's Eve yesterday. Also at the end of the show, we'll be giving our December goal and player of the month. So sit back and enjoy the show. As usual, I'm joined by my seasonal guests at this stage, and it's a pleasure to have you on, lads, on this New Year's Day. New Year, new hope, and more meltdowns, probably. First of all, I'll come to you, Eamon Donnelly. How are you, pal, and Happy New Year?
Evening, Jonathan. Evening, John. All is quiet there on New Year's Day. I think that was Bono there. Sounds more like a dog food. I'm okay myself. I've had to compartmentalize the Arsenal to make myself okay. The only way you can do it, you know. Yeah, we're okay. We're all good. Happy New Year to everybody.
As Eamon says, we don't follow the Arsenal. We care about them.
No, we yeah. I don't follow the Arsenal. I worry about them. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a nagging wife you can't get away from. Yeah. I'm also joined by fresh-looking John Mealy. You haven't aged a day in 2024 so far. How are you?
So far, nearly there already. Yeah, I aged a few years yesterday watching that football.
You keeping well, John? Yeah.
Can't complain. Thanks, Johnny. Happy New Year to everybody.
It's great to have you on board, lads. And yeah, we're into what's this match week 20 now, which is mad. Yeah. We'll kick on with yesterday's game, lads, which was against Fulham. 2-1 to Fulham, sadly. 2 defeats in a row now after Thursday's 2-0 loss to West Ham. I can't really remember the last time that happened really in the league under Arteta, but 2 tough London derbies. To be said, really. Goals by Jimenez and Decart over Reid for Fulham, and Bukayo Saka got our goal. A few notes I have here, lads. Bukayo Saka scored after 4 minutes. Really good start, and I thought that's where the floodgates might open yesterday. Martinelli's shot was well saved by Leno, but he just pushed it into the path of Saka, who took his goal well. I thought VAR was on to somehow find a line that wasn't going to give the goal, but thankfully it stood. And I thought after that, I think Saka was a bit surprised himself, because you can't celebrate goals now, unless VAR after 5 minutes gives the light. But I thought that's where we would have pushed on and maybe got 1 or 2 more. But in fairness, that woke Fulham up kind of, I think. I thought for their equaliser, Willian and Iwobi had good games for them, the 2 ex-Gooners. Willian gave the ball to Tom Kearney, who put the ball right across the Arsenal box, and sadly it evaded everyone, including Kivior, who didn't realise that Raúl Jimenez was behind him, and he took his goal really well. I don't think Ray had a chance really. He was just buried the shot, and a 1-1. I thought we might have, that might have been the kick up the arse we needed, but we didn't seem to. I don't think we really had that energy yesterday, we just looked a bit flat, I thought. For their second goal, there's a lot of hesitancy in the box. Rice, Gabriel and Tomiyasu should have really been cleared. They were all giving out to each other when Decart over Reid, Bertie did pass Raya, who didn't have a chance, but just a lot of arguing amongst each other, and it was just a poor goal for us to concede, because we don't concede sloppy goals really. And we probably won't see that again, hopefully, for the rest of the season. But just a few minutes after that, then Saka hit one over the crossbar, which, if that was 2-2, it might have made us go on to maybe even win the game. But sadly, that went over the bar. And then Andreas Pereira had a great free kick that hit the crossbar for Fulham as well. But back-to-back defeats now. 1 win and 5 in December in the Premier League. Isn't great reading, but we're still only 2 points behind, and still 18 games left to play, so there's still a lot to play for. I'll come to you, Eamon. What did you make of the match yesterday?
Well, first of all, I want to reference the manager's interview after the game. And he normally defends his team. And I think it was very instructive that he just said it was painful and that you have to be on it, and we weren't on it. And that he didn't crucify the team. He said, after all the consistency we've shown to be in the position we're in, to go out and do that was painful. And that nobody was really at it. Nobody was doing what they needed to do. It was the biggest dressing down in public that I think he's given the players.
Yeah.
And you could see he was really hurt by it. And I admired that kind of honesty. I think you've got to look at the two games. I was at the West Ham game. You've got to look at the two games. One, he defended his players to the hilt. I didn't think we were very dynamic against West Ham. We don't need to review that again because you did a show on that. But having been there, while we weren't that dynamic, we were energetic and there was a lot of effort. And, you know, on another day, we'd have scored goals, you know.
Yeah.
And we conceded bad goals. We actually handed him that game on a plate. But the contrast of his interview after the West Ham game and after the Fulham game, and he rightly called it out for what it was absolutely hapless. That's the first thing. Second thing is, we didn't, you say that had we got 2-2, we might have gone on to win it. We didn't earn the right to be in the game. So when we got 1-0 up, we didn't earn the right to play. And this is one of the things that worries me about this Arsenal team, is that they have possession so easily that you don't become a bad team overnight, but you can develop bad habits.
Yeah.
And one of the bad habits we have is we're taking too many touches. Just too many touches, right? And it was the same against West Ham. And Declan is guilty of it. So our good players, all our players are good players, but they're really, really top players. Saliba's doing it. Declan is doing it. When I see the spine of our midfield and our central defenders taking 10 touches on the ball, then there's only one of two things that you can make an analysis. One is that there's not enough happening in front.
Yeah.
Right? Or two is that we've just become so comfortable in possession of the ball that, you know, we're just keeping ball for keeping ball's sake. And I actually think yesterday we just weren't on it. I think there probably was movement ahead. There was a few chances to get earlier passes through. We didn't do that. I think our defending has become, I think casual is the word I'd use. We conceded 4 goals from corners in December. That's not acceptable. You're a top team, you can't do that. Goal yesterday from the corner, I mean, we've enough bodies in there to deal with that, and it should have been dealt with. The other thing was, for Fulham's first goal, were we really chasing back as hard as we chased Salah back when Zinchenko clocked when Zinchenko clocked Odegaard at Anfield, and you could see the effort in the players getting back, you know, and it resulted in Alexander-Arnold hitting the bar because we chased so hard back that Salah put too much on his pass. Were we really chasing back that hard yesterday? I don't think we were.
No, it does.
You know, no. And so if you're a few percentage points down on things in this league, you get punished. And I thought our defending was, like, if we'd have chased back a little harder, I think the central defenders would have been in better body shape and better position to deal with the cross that came through. As it was, the cross that came over, everybody was out of shape, right? Yeah. And it was bad from that point of view.
Do you think, sorry for going across you, do you think Kivior should have been more alert of Jimenez behind him, or do you just think we were completely out of shape?
Yeah, but you see, that's, if you play the game in isolation, maybe, but he's looking at everybody else and where everybody else is as well.
Yeah.
So he's deciding, do I stick or twist here? Because we weren't set properly across the box, he's kind of done neither. And that's a difficult one. That's a difficult one, you know. And he's not a left full either. We have to remember that, you know.
Yeah. Sure.
I think it was the defence as a unit was bad on that goal. Yeah. And the midfield didn't do enough to try and stop the counter-attack. I want to touch on Eddie and Nketiah. I see on our own podcast, Nketiah taking, or our own podcast group on the WhatsApp, and Nketiah taking so much stick. Eddie Nketiah is the type of player who comes alive in the box. He's the type of player who likes to make a half a yard in the box and get a leg to something. We're asking him to do stuff he can't do if we're taking that many touches on the ball. If Eddie Nketiah has to come out to the left wing, 40 yards from his own goal to get on the ball, there's something wrong, right? And that's all because of the amount of time we're taking on the ball. You know, Eddie is snuffed out, and he's not going to win the ball in all of that traffic and do worldy stuff. We've got to get the ball moving quicker. Just one or two other things before John comes in. I'll be very critical of Declan in the last two games. And I know we're not allowed to be critical of Declan because he's been brilliant this season. But the worry I always had about him was he doesn't take the ball on the half turn, and that's beginning to show. So there's no point in playing the ball out from the goalkeeper or from the back if you're doing it just to keep the ball. That beats the press. Yeah. And if the press comes up on you and you get in midfield taking it on the half turn, the whole pitch switches around, right? Declan's not doing that, right? And it just spoke to me yesterday. I see he wasn't picked in the Ghana African nation. Like, if ever we were crying out for a fit Thomas Partey, it's now.
Now, yeah.
Right? Because he does do that. And it would also free up Declan to step a bit further forward, right? I'm not down on Declan. He's fantastic, right? But he's world class when the ball is in front of him. He's not yet developed in terms of, and I'd be inclined the Partey is not fit to get Jorginho into the team. Because he does take the ball on the half turn, and if you take the ball on the half turn, you move it to your Odegaards quicker, you move it to your Havertz quicker, you get it out to the wide men quicker. Opposition aren't set, and I think that's a problem. So that's as much as I have to really say about the game itself. When we're talking about the impact on the season, I'll come back in on some stuff later because I'll just finish with this. The one word that was going through my mind immediately after the game, before I'd heard Mickey's interview, was we need to reset, you know? And if there's ever a bad time, or ever a good time, rather, to have a bit of a blip in form, and everybody gets a dip in form, it's now, because we don't have a Premier League game until the third week in January. Yeah. So hopefully we can get the Malays that's affected. As I understand, the team is probably going to go off and do some continental training and all that type of stuff in the down week. So look, very, very poor. Nothing else to say about it really. Too many touches, too slow.
Yeah, it's a good point you made there. I think what a bit of team bonding in the weeks, you know, that the so-called winter weeks, you know, the 1 week, couple of weeks have.
Declan himself, though, Jonathan, Declan himself was very down on himself in the interview.
It's the first time I've seen that, really. You know, you could.
What he said was it's up to the players to demand more of each other, and we weren't doing it today. That's what he said. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he is honest. I like his honesty as well. Yeah, he's honest. He'll tell it like it is. Yeah. Sorry, John, you've been sitting on the bench there for a while there. Yeah. Disappointing result yesterday. What did you make of the game yesterday yourself?
New Year's Eve, we saved our worst performance of 2023 for the very last day. EAMONN nailed it on the head. The exception of the goal, which was the only bit of quick movement, quick play we produced during the whole game, everything was so slow. Everything was so predictable. Now, again, you got to give Fulham some credit. Got the tactics right. They worked hard. They were snappier into the tackle. They were forced it, you know, with their breaking ball. And when they broke on us, they broke with pace. You were talking about Eddie. Eddie got no ball. How can you complain about Eddie when he got no supply? But I think that's almost because we've become predictable. Everything goes down the flanks. Everything goes to Martinelli. Everything goes Saka. You fill up the middle. You're producing as on Wednesday night against West Ham. And again yesterday. Yeah. You're just blocking any kind of decent ball into the centre forward. And as I say, that's not Eddie's job. That's not Eddie's game. Sorry. I really thought everything we did was so pedestrian, so slow. Everything, even defensively, everything was so slow. They attacked their fullbacks. Keebior was obviously targeted. I wouldn't blame him for the goal. I thought the cross was absolutely outstanding. There was far enough away from the goalkeeper that he couldn't come for it, and it took out all three of our defenders over there in the box. It was just a brilliant, brilliant cross. I think you're right about Keebior. I think he was watching the line, maybe for offside, trying to keep in line with these other defenders. But you've got to give some credit to Fulham for the quality of the ball. But it was too easy for to get down the wing to get that cross in.
Yeah,
far too easy.
Yeah.
So, as I said, very, very worst performance I've seen in 2023. And it was so disappointing when you consider how good we were at home to Brighton and the kind of performance we put in at Anfield. It's so disappointing to finish 2023 with 2 games like that, especially yesterday, because it's not what we've come to expect. As you say, the standards that Arteta and those players have set themselves over the last 18 months, so disappointed to see a performance like that. I'd criticise the substitutions. You were talking about Jorginho. I was praying Jorginho would come on. I really was. Just to do exactly what you were saying, get the ball in midfield. I would have pushed Rice up to number 8. I would have put Havertz up to centre forward, just to give us something different. I mean, I've seen Havertz play centre forward. I've seen him in the flesh against us when he played for Chelsea. He can do a job there, and I'm convinced he's someone who could help out Eddie. If he doesn't win the header, there's breaking balls in the box, as you said, and Eddie will snip things out. He might only get half a chance. I think Eddie's the kind of striker who would thrive with an old school 4-4-2 with a big man, small man centre forward, centre forward line. I'd have taken Saka off and put Jesus on the wing. I think Saka was really poor. I'd have left Martinelli on. I mean, he was full of energy. He wasn't producing a hell of a lot, but he was full of energy.
Full of energy, yeah.
But then that's basically them grasping at straws. Even the centre halves look stressed. And when was the last time we saw Saliba and Gabriel stressed? It just hasn't happened. It's very disappointing end of 2023. You're right, Partey, I'm delighted he's not gone to the African nations. I'm hoping that's more a sign of him wanting to stay and regain his fitness, and I'm hoping he's not too far back. I have read certain articles that he's back training. Tomiyasu, delighted to see him come on at half time. Unfortunately for Keebior, I think he was sold down the river, really, because the players around him didn't help. And I thought Tommy steadied the ship a little bit. I thought he played all right in the second half. I'm grasping at straws here. I really am trying to look for positives, because it was such a poor performance. It really was. And we got such a great start.
Yeah, that's the annoying part.
It was a terrific breakaway goal. It really was. That was the only bit of speed we put into the game in the whole game. It really was.
What do you make of the second goal, John? I've never seen a defence so sloppy.
The ball was just bouncing around when it dropped to him.
Yeah.
He stuck it away well. I mean, unfortunately, even the first goal against West Ham, we cleared the ball and it bounced off Zinchenko, and then everyone's, what the hell's going on there? We've seen what happened there. That's just pure bad luck. Their second goal, I mean, they were the only ones going to score the goal. We weren't going to score the second goal. We just never looked like it. We didn't deserve it. The ball fell to him. It bounced around a little bit and it fell to him when he hit it in.
But John, just can I come in there just on what you said? Because that's what I meant, really. You've actually nailed what I meant to kind of get across to the listeners about casual defending. Like, I thought the first goal at West Ham, against West Ham the other night, was a complete lack of communication between Gabriel and Zinchenko. Zinchenko needs to tell him, I've got that, or I don't have it. But instead, neither of them communicate because they weren't on it, right? Yeah. Gabriel whacks it off Zinchenko, but then squiddles across. Nobody's alive to the ball. Oh, it's going out. Well, we should know about balls going out now at this stage, right? And again, the corner yesterday, if we're switched on, somebody gets a boot through that. Enough chances. A ball shouldn't be allowed bounce around like pinball in your own box from a set piece. It just shouldn't, you know. And that's what I mean when if your percentage points are down, you get punished, you know.
Before we came on air, Johnny said that was our 8th game in December. Another thing I was thinking is just how thin the squad is. We've got a very small group of players that Arteta seems to trust. And when players are missing, or I think they played every game, I don't know whether exhaustion comes into it. I know after the Liverpool game in the Cup this weekend, they have plans to go to Dubai for some sunny weather training. But I just wish it was a different game than Liverpool, because I don't think he can rest any of these players. The squad really is limited. He doesn't seem to trust a lot. He doesn't trust Nelson enough. He doesn't. Smith Rowe was coming back. I would have liked to have seen him come on yesterday even. Just the options that we hoped we had just aren't there. And as you said, Partey would be huge right now. He would absolutely be huge. And we spoke about him the last time I was on the podcast. And when you see a game like that, you just realise, get him back ASAP. I'm delighted he's not going to the African nations. Absolutely thrilled. Hope it gives him a little bit more time to get back a bit for that.
Do you think we've become heavily reliant on Bukayo Saka to make things happen?
We are reliant on their wingers, Saka and Martinelli. Yeah. I think we've become a little bit predictable. I think we've been scouted. As I said, I think that they double up on our wide players and they block any kind of possession into our centre forwards, and that's slowing everything down. They're quite happy. We talked about the old horseshoe under Arsene Wenger. You know, when everything was slow, they play it around the 18-yard box. And yesterday we were doing it, laying it around the 18-yard box because there was very little movement in the box, and everybody was so congested. Eddie couldn't get the ball because we couldn't get the ball to him.
Yeah. But one of the reasons why you have to play that horseshoe around the box is if fellas deeper down the field are taking 10 and 12 touches.
It's so slow, Eamon.
By the time we get up to the bloody box, you can only go on a horseshoe.
We've always said is Arsenal's so much better when the ball is played fast, when they play fast football.
Zip it across, yeah.
I think the opposition figured out if we can slow them down, they're not going to hurt us. And I don't even think it was that. You know, I'm hoping it's not fatigue, because we've still got another 4 or 5 months of this season to go with these players. We've still got another potentially 30 games of football to play with these players, so I'm hoping it's not.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
And I'm hoping
we're going to have to remember as well, like, that's 4 points Fulham have taken off us this season when you include the 2-all draw. Like, Marco Silva, he does play a good style of football. You know, Fulham are a decent side. You know, like, I think Arsenal fans how we just rock up to the Craven Catch and end the year in a high by giving them a 3-0 like we did. You know, that was, I think Fulham were really going out.
3 games straight. They lost 3 games straight. They were out of form themselves.
I think that was a massive win for them yesterday. Yeah,
we allowed them. If we're taking that many touches on the ball and just in a comfort zone in possession, well, then we're allowing them to set themselves, play their way into the game, not fear us too much, do their organising stuff, and that. But look, what I wanted to say in general terms, and I picked this up on Thursday night when I was in the stadium. Like, the team needs a reset, and there's an opportunity to do that. Like, I'm not as defeatist about. I don't think it's time to hit the panic button. It's time to hit the reset button. We have good players. We've better players than I would say every team in the Premier League bar one. Right? Our squad depth is a bit thin, but if we got players back, it wouldn't look so bad, right? And we do have options. So it's time for a reset. But one of the things I noticed in the ground is it's not just the team that needs a reset. The whole club needs a reset in terms of its expectation, right? We've got to look at where we are. Well, where are we, right? First of all, we've got to now think about, well, we need to consolidate our top 4 position. Forget about titles, right? Let's start working on getting points in every game and see where it takes you, right? That's the first bit of the reset. We've a free shot at Liverpool in the FA Cup because the pressure's off, right? It's a free shot, right? And what I'd say is this. Last year, when we were exciting everybody, nobody expected us to be where we were. So there was a real feel good, you know, and that you could see. When we went behind in the game last year, there was no groans. Everybody got behind the team. Now, I mean, and by the way, look, I want to make this clear. My opinion is only my opinion. It's no more or less valid than anybody else's, and everybody's opinion is valid. But there's some of the meltdowns. If you look at our own people, right? Intelligent football people having an absolute meltdown. The reason why I'm saying I'm not criticizing them, they are entitled to have a meltdown. But if that's a straw poll of the feeling, say, for example, in the stadium, that transmits onto the pitch. And I think that we're getting a bit bogged down in the weight of expectation because last year we went very, very close. And this year, everybody really wanted us to kick on. And I know it's really frustrating. I know it is, right? But you've got to look at Liverpool. Liverpool, I just did a calculation here. From 73 to 90, that's 18 seasons, won 11 titles. They were serial winners. Didn't win another one for 30 years. It's not easy to do. And they were in the mix for an awful lot of those titles that they didn't win. But, and I hate saying this, but over the last few years when Klopp was chasing titles against Man City and they were racking up 90-odd points and whatnot, I didn't see the same level of meltdown from Liverpool fans if a game or two went wrong. We need to reset and kind of say to ourselves, look, the best thing we can do now is arrive as the best version of ourselves at home to Crystal Palace, get a good win under our belts, get another 3 points, get as many 3-pointers as we can, and see where it takes us. This thing about every single thing that goes wrong is a Titanic-like disaster. I actually believe, having been in the stadium on Thursday night, that is beginning to transmit to the players. I really do, because the crowd is not the same force that it was last season.
As you say, the level of expectations gone up.
Correct.
The level of patience has gone down. Yeah.
Do you think?
And then one other thing I wanted to say was, and you know, with this, they start questioning the manager. Like, get real. And we're not going down this road again. But I'm actually, ironically, in the middle of reading the Charles Watts book, Revolution, The Rise of Arteta's Arsenal. And I thought I was fairly well informed on most Arsenal stuff. But I have to tell you guys, the mess that was inherited in 2019 is way worse than I thought it was. From the top to the bottom of the club, right? And it took a good 2 to 3 years to even patch up that mess, right? So let's not all get too down on ourselves. It was a terrible performance. It was a terrible result. It was a bad day for the team. It was a bad day for the manager. But we hit the reset button now and we go at it. That's, you know, as Mr. Dave O'Leary would say, as I say, at the end of the day, get on with it. And there's a bit of that required. Get on with it, you know?
Yeah, it's just looking at the ratings from yesterday from the newspapers. It's the lowest ratings I've seen for the starting Arsenal 11. The only ones that hit, the highest was 6, and that was David Ray and Bukayo Saka. The rest were marked as 4 and 5, which shows how poor the performance was. But you know, as Eamon says, there's still a long way to go yet, and we're only 2 points off the top. I think the frustrating thing is it's just not taking advantage of, you know, we could have been top today. But to you, John, with 1 win and 5 in December, as Eamon says, it's time to hit the reset button. But do you think it could be time to dip our toes in the transfer market?
December, no?
Sorry?
The transfer market, I think it's time for us to show some character. We showed it last season. We showed it with a lot of last-minute winners this season. It's time for us to sort of, as Eamon says, reset and show some character. I'm not convinced we'll do anything in the transfer window because I don't think the money's there. And the reason I don't think the money's there is that we only got Raya on loan for the season. We couldn't afford to buy it. So I don't think, unless we sell big, and I don't see anybody buying any of our players for big money in January, I do not see us doing any business of them at all in January. So I think this is the squad we have, and this is the squad we have going forward. So I'm just saying that now.
There's talk of the club they might be cashing in on Eddie Nketiah and Aaron Ramsdale if good
But
fees come from. Do you think that's
from who? Who's going to spend the money, and what kind of money are you talking about?
he could be looking at 30 million at least for Ramsdale?
From who?
Who do you think would sign him? You know, is there takers
for
for him?
there that I think wants a goalkeeper, and that's Newcastle.
Yeah.
But the fans getting on Eddie's back as well. Do you think it's time to cash in on Eddie now? Do you think his game is up?
Who's going to spend the money? And what are we going to get to replace him? That's better for that kind of money. If we
do you think it's realistic that Ivan Toney would come to Arsenal in January, or do you think that's a non-runner?
Because of the money that's going to be asked for. I think 70, 80 million plus the wages for a 28-year-old. No, I don't. I know. I read Eamon. You
who hasn't played in a year.
Yeah, you made a good point, Eamon, on the group. Yeah.
Well, I told you,
big risk.
I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I really don't see it happening.
John is spot on. When I tell you something, if we buy a player in January without getting the fee in, we will be in breach of FFP.
Absolutely.
And I can tell you, they won't be as lenient on us as they would be on you know who, and you know who else.
Yeah.
Right? I'm telling you. And this is not my view. This is reported. We will be in breach of FFP if we just go out and buy a player. Now, if that's what people want, and then we get points deducted off us next season, when we're trying to strengthen the squad year on year, right? So the squad that we have is the squad that we have. I still believe wholeheartedly it's the second best squad in the league, right? I think we're short. We're certainly short up front. We're short one more midfield player, and we're short the defender. But that's next summer's business, folks.
Well, the midfielder is Party and the defender is Timber. It's so unlucky that we only got less than a half of football out of Timber. So I think next season is a replacement for Party and sorting things out up front. I just don't see it happen in January. That's exactly what I can say. As financial fair play, unless we get some stupid bloody transfer fees in for players that we're willing to let go, I don't see us spending any money at all.
And I can tell you, spending 70 million on Ivan Toney at 28 years of age, with the way we play, right, and the fact that he hasn't played in a year, would be Nicolas Pepe type balls up. I'm telling you.
Do you think, how fragile Arsenal fans are? If we don't,
you know well, Johnny. We know we've been listening to you for the last 3 or 4 years. We know exactly how fragile you were.
I'm talking about the other million odd people. Do you think if he doesn't dip his toes in the transfer market, do you think there'd be uproar?
Well, which will cause more uproar, Johnny? Not spend the money in the transfer market or getting deducted 10 points.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a fine balance.
Let me tell you about uproar. What do you mean by uproar? Well, let me tell you, I have a philosophy. Always worry about the silent majority rather than the vocal minority. Okay?
That's it.
The silent majority are the ones who will make the judgment at the end of the day. Because when they stop becoming silent, that's when you know you have an issue. The people who behave as keyboard warriors, they go on those things because they want to rant. Right? So just because people are ranting on social media doesn't mean there's uproar. You'll know in the stadium, as we knew in the stadium towards the end of Arsene's reign, what needed to happen. We knew in the stadium from the 60,000 people watching week in, week out. Because you have to look at the 60,000 people. They are a cross-section of everybody. So for those 60,000 people who were there every week, you can take it that they represent the views of the 6 million people or whoever follows us around the world. Because, 60,000 is a great sample of people. But the people who go on just to go on social media and, and rant, Sure, that's what they do. I wouldn't listen to any of that noise. I don't think that's uproar. Uproar will happen. You'll know when uproar happens, right? It will be in the stadium. But Jesus, folks, the club is on an upward trajectory. Even though we lost a couple of games, we are going in the right direction. And if you want proof of whether we're going in the right direction or not, that 60,000 people expect us to win the title. The reason why they expect us to win the title is that we've given them a team that has shown they are capable of being in that race. Simple.
Did you, like you were saying just briefly, you were at the match last Thursday, you were saying, did you feel a different atmosphere amongst the fans like that, you know, when we went behind? Was there, you know, did it get flat, you know?
It wasn't so much that we get flat, it's that, like, we are obsessed with winning the title. And the point I'm trying to make to you is, Liverpool were obsessed with winning the title for most of those 30 years that they didn't. And they were serial title winners, right? And it just felt that it's not that they're not behind the team. It's just that with that weight of expectation on it, the fans need a reset. The fans need to get in and say, you know what? Didn't we have fun last season when we were really connected and behind the team? And you know what? We're going to do our very, very, very best to get behind the team again. That's the type of reset I'm talking about, you know?
Yeah, yeah, you make a good points, yeah. Yeah, there's very little we can say about yesterday. It was just a bad end to the year. Of like 2023 was really a good year for us. You know, we saw a lot of positives. And as Martin Stumble stuck in our group, that his liver's still intact after 12 months. So that's always a good sign. Man of the matches, lads. This was a bit of an ask. I'd probably give mine to Martinelli. I thought had a good game. I thought he tried to make things happen. So it would have been between Martinelli and Saka for me. Eamon, did anyone stand out for you yesterday?
If it had been a home game, I'd have given it to Gunnasaurus. Whereas an away game, I tend to agree with you. To my mind, Martinelli was our only hope yesterday.
So yeah. Surprised he was taken off, as I said earlier.
Yeah,
get over it.
To make things happen on the wing, yeah.
Yeah.
John, did anyone stand out for you?
I'm just going to surprise everybody and say David Raya, because I don't think he did that. No?
Yeah, thought he had a solid game. Yeah,
you know, I'm sick of people giving out about him. I don't think he's done that. No.
Yeah.
Sure, there were people giving out about David Raya again on our Motley Crew over the West Ham game that he didn't command his box for the goal. I was behind the goal. Yeah. David Raya had nothing to do with that goal going in.
Yeah.
You know, like Gabriel decides to whack it off Zinchenko. Ben White decides not to chase it down and just in case that ball is not going out, to get himself closer to where Jared Bowen was. Then it takes a waxy hop out and nobody makes a dash out to close down Souček. Right? There's four fellas on the bloody line and they all stood there. You know,
so let's blame
and then all of a sudden, that's because David Raya doesn't command his ball. Nonsense, you know.
Like there's one moment yesterday before Jimenez got the equaliser, he saved well from Jimenez. It was fairly similar from outside, but you know, so yeah, I thought he done. He got 6 there as a rating yesterday. I thought that probably reflected. Yeah, I think he's done very little wrong since he's come in ahead of Ramsdale. So, but look, I think these back-to-back defeats will be, you know, a wake-up call, I think, for the whole team, you know. We're not going to go into games and walk them like last year, you know.
Well, if Declan is to be held to his word, I thought the most telling thing was he said, we need to demand more of each other. Now, if it's 3 weeks to our next Premier League game and there's going to be a winter break, and that's the culture that's exactly what I mean by hit reset. The players need to reset themselves to demanding the very, very best of each other.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really leadership from Declan Rice, so isn't there? You know, you're seeing it week on week in interview, you know, yeah, it's a breath of fresh air.
He more of himself too, you know.
Yeah, he demands more. Yeah, he's critical of himself, and yes, which you don't really see players really coming out and saying. Yeah, that result yesterday, as we said at the start, we're in 4th position. with 40 points, so we're safe from the relegation zone, thank God. Another season in the top flight. 2 points off Liverpool, which, you know, I can see Villa probably fading away, so I still think it's between ourselves, Liverpool and City, probably. You'd think, you know, but still a long way to go yet, and it's hard to predict. And I'm predicting nothing. As Paul Merson said last season, if you're still in it with 10 games to go, then you can start dreaming, you know. So I think if we're still in it before or after the international break in March, you can start adding up where you're going to get the wins and points from. But we're not going to do that now because we're all Jonas in the show. Brief look to Saturday game, lads. It's on Sunday, this one. Liverpool and the FA Cup. I think it could be a welcome distraction just from the Premier League. I'm not too worried about the FA Cup, you know. I prefer to be knocked out of this and concentrate in the Champions League and League. You know, I know we should always go for any trophies going, but, you know, I think just the way the season's kind of going, I prefer just to concentrate in two fronts, you know. But I'll come to you, John. What would you like to come from the game on Sunday?
Well, I'd like to see some of the French players. I'd like to see Smith Rowe get a start. I'd like to see Nelson get a start. I'd like to see Jorginho get a start. No, let's give them games and let's see what happens. I wouldn't be wiping my hands of the FA Cup. It's given us far too much entertainment over the years, especially over the last 10 years. So it definitely wouldn't be just thrown it to the wind.
Yeah.
And it's Liverpool, for Christ's sake. You tell what's the bloody lose to Liverpool? I know too many Liverpool fans. I'm bloody sick of them already. So, no, I wouldn't be giving it up. But there's people out there who need games. Like I said, Smith Rowe definitely needs a game. We'll definitely give Jorginho a game. So, give him a go and let's see what happens.
It's probably going to be the only.
You can't just throw it away. You just can't just ignore it. Yeah. Definitely not.
Yeah, it's a hard balance, isn't it?
You'll be on here next week giving out hell about you.
Oh, it could be Arteta out before the reset, as Eamon said. Eamon, what do you think for Sunday? What would you like?
Well, the first thing I'd like Klopp to get rid of that bloody baseball cap and that bubble coat, and because every time he does that with the jaw, with that bet, I actually just want to take a mallet, right, and take another mallet and put one mallet on top of the other mallet, right. So I want that to happen. Right, that's the first thing. Second thing is we don't have a game for 2 weeks. We can play our full team. They have a semi-final of a Carabao Cup coming up a few days later.
Yeah.
So he's got to think of legs and minutes and all, and you know, and it's not well he'll put a bogey team out in the Carabao Cup against what he has to think of managing the workload on the players in a different way than we do for that game. So we have a free shot at it. We have a free shot to get out and play, not worried about titles. Get out and be the best version of ourselves we can be. And I think if we do that, we'll win the game. Right? I think they have a brilliant front five. They're about the same as us at the back. But I think their midfield is poor. Right? I think it's poor.
I've been impressed with Endo. I have to be honest, since he broke into the same for Liverpool.
Not sure about him.
I thought he was impressed. I was impressed with it against us today. I thought he had a terrific game.
We have a better midfield though, John, you know.
But we had a better midfield than Fulham. They have to tunnel.
I thought, to be honest with you, we went to Anfield when they gave us their full storm. And if that had been a boxing match, it would have been a split decision, you know. I think we can win the game on Sunday, because we can put out our full deck. I'm not sure they will, you know.
Do you think he'd bring in a few French players, as John said, Eamon?
I'd like to see him get some minutes under the belt. Yeah. I mean, I'm desperate to see Smith Rowe get back. I mean, we haven't seen him in nearly.
I think he's probably one. But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he is part of the full deck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't count. I don't think that if you put Smith Rowe on the team, you're playing a fringe player. I think you're playing a player who, if he hadn't been cropped as long as he had,
hasn't played much, and I think he's enduring 80 minutes. I'd rather see him get the four steroid in the last 15, 20 minutes. Get some miles into the legs, and let's see what you're doing. We're getting great reports on what he's doing in China. given the error. And I think he would have been an option on yesterday. I mean, I know I'm just desperate to see him back and see if he's as fit as we hope he will be. You know, he's not going to get fit without games. So give him a bloody game in the FA Cup.
I tell you, when he came on against West Ham, he looks really athletic looking now. God, he's trimmed down now.
I tell you what, now again, haven't been there. That was one thing that did strike me.
Yeah.
He looked very nimble and fit and athletic, you know. I'd like to see him start. Well, I'd like to see him start a lot of league games, you know. I think when Odegaard
has a real option.
Yeah.
I don't think Odegaard needs to start every single game, you know. We've options there. But look, in relation to Sunday, what channel is it on?
BBC One, 4:30.
BBC. Okay.
The research that goes into this for on the buttons. No, it should be a cracking game. And if we go into with the 1-1 draw at Anfield, with
the problem with BBC One for me is that I can sit in my little cocoon in my kitchen and watch any channel that's associated with Sky or all them TNTers or whatever they call them, nitroglycerin or whatever it is. And but BBC One doesn't come up on the Sky package, so I have to watch it on the big screen in the living room. And so as the horror unfolds, you can see it unfold in 52 inches rather than you can hide the view of the small screen much easier, you know. Yeah.
It's like watching our three ugly faces on the widescreen and this. Yeah, it should be a cracking game. I'll go well. We go into the next round, but yeah, it's Crystal Palace and then Forest then in the league in January. The 20th, January 20th is Palace, and then 10 days later is Forest. So a bit of a gap between them games. So yeah, nice bit of recovery time as well. It brings us to goal of the month now for December, the best part of the show. I'll start with you, Johnson. It's been a while. Your player of the month for December.
Oh. But again, Havertz. I'll go with Havertz because I think he's finally starting to show what we hoped he could do.
Yeah.
And you were only talking about, I can't even remember half the goals, just like we were talking earlier. So I'll go with Royce. Royce has been a winner against Luton because you just can't be a last winner. ridiculous game of football that was. Yeah. Absolutely ridiculous.
Said you might. It's not good for the old ticker, that game of football. Yeah, that's two good choices there. Your goal of the month, Eamon, for December?
Goal of the month. Well, obviously Declan's goal was the most exciting goal because when it came. My favourite goal was Eddie Nketiah's goal away at PSV. Because it was an in-right goal. It was a real striker's goal. He had nothing to look at, and he shifted it half a yard, and then everything opened up for him, and he planted it. It was a beauty. It was a real striker's goal. That was my favourite goal for December, you know.
And your player of the month for December?
Player of the month for December, I'm with you on this. It was Kai Havertz, and do you know what? We really missed him against West Ham, you know. I know he was pants yesterday, but he was pants yesterday in a complete pants-like performance, you know, from everybody. A pantomime. But he was terrific in December.
Yeah, he's on to win my player in goal of the month as well. The goal of the month being the Brighton goal. I thought the way he took his goal is a player in real confidence. You know, he could have shanked that left or right, but he took it really well, waited for the keeper to come out and slotted it well past him. I thought he scored a few important goals for us in the last few games. Yeah.
Are you sure he didn't shank it? Because every time I look at that goal, I'm not sure he meant to finish it.
Don't put the mockers on him. We don't want him to go back into that mode he was in early on the season. Kai, if you're listening, you didn't shank it, you took a beauty.
He shanked it.
Is there anything, lads, you'd like mention about the Dublin Nurses Supporters Club for the new year ahead, or anything you'd like to say?
Just keep coming in, keep giving us the support, keep enjoying yourself.
And keep the meltdowns coming in the groove, particularly Craig Smith as always.
As I said, everybody's opinion is valid. And you have to remember the age profile of some of these guys, and they'll tell you this themselves, is that they were born into a winning team.
Yes,
and we're winning titles, and it's very hard to look at when, you know. But I'd reference Liverpool. I mean, listen, I'm not an apologist for Liverpool FC. They ruined my childhood, and I'll never forgive them for that. So they have zero popularity in my DNA. But I noticed that, like, the couple of times I've been in Anfield, or I even watched, like when under Benitez and stuff, and Brendan Rodgers, when they were chasing the title, you know, that place was so noisy, even though they hadn't won it for so long. And even when they lost the game, it wasn't the bloody meltdown that we suffer, you know. There you go.
Yeah, it's the 20th anniversary of the Invincibles this year, yeah, which is incredible, yeah. As you can see, the three of us have aged like a fine wine. Those.
But listen, here's the other thing I was thinking about yesterday. Like, I know the Invincibles went through the season unbeaten, but that great team, they had days like yesterday too.
Yeah, we just don't remember. Yeah,
you kind of gloss over them because they won trophies and stuff, but they had some awful days. I mean, I'll say two words, John: Wanderers and Bolton.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I was thinking back on that one. I mean, it's the one that came to mind. Yeah, we only sing when we're winning. Like, you have to take the good with the bad, you know. You stick by them through thick and thin, and the next 5 months will be exciting. No matter what, we're still in 3 competitions, so and still waiting on the comeback of Jordan Timber from injury as well. We still haven't seen what type of player he is, but from what we saw in pre-season, he'd be a welcome back addition, I think, when he comes back. Yeah, it's
by the way, the Charles Watts book, I'm only halfway through it. Revolution: The Rise of Arteta's Arsenal, is a proper good read.
Yeah. Yep. There you go, John. Straight on Amazon for that. Yeah, it wraps up a busy show, lads. I'd just like to.
No, I picked it up. I picked it up in Eason's just before Christmas. When I was looking for the Harry Potter box set. No, I picked it up in Eason's. I just saw it there, and I said, "Do you know what? Some of the, you know the way you're like a kind of a Teletubby after Christmas. You say, I might just take a book and just try and focus my mind on not eating. You know." So I did it for that, you know. Yeah.
Eamon is our Harry Potter of the Dublin Arsenal podcast.
Yeah.
You don't know what you get.
I'm more Harry Potter than Graham Potter, you know.
As you said to Carl, he's more Myrno than Pirlo. Yeah, I'd just like to wish everyone on the Dublin Arsenal podcast and committee, and for everyone in the River Bar as well, a happy new year for 2024. You can catch our podcast always on the Dublin Arsenal YouTube channel and Spotify and all the other social media ones we have out there. So until our show next week, lads, have a good week, first week of January, and we'll see you then. Cheers, thanks for listening.
Take care, Johnny. Take care. Take care, man.
Okay.
Bye.
Cheers.